All right, guys, today we're talking read alouds and specifically for your young children. So for me, these were our favorite read alouds for my 4 and my 5-year-old this last year. Hey guys, welcome back, or welcome if you are new. I am a young homeschooling mom of 3. This coming year, I will have a first grader, a kindergartner, and a toddler. I am also a homeschool graduate, and this channel is just my outlet for everything homeschool, so welcome along for the ride. Today we're talking read alouds. And when I try to find read alouds for my young children, so we're talking my 4 and 5-year-old this last year, I find that's a little bit of a challenge because you have to find books that are engaging enough and short enough and in concept simple enough that your little ones can follow and understand and enjoy, while also being like long enough to count as like a read aloud, or long enough that I enjoy reading it with them. Let's just say that, long enough and intelligent enough that I actually want to read it to them. So I found that to be a challenge. So hopefully if you guys have littles and you are looking for some read alouds, you might get some ideas here. Okay, I'm not going to yammer on about it. I'm just going to start with my children's all-time favorite from this year. This was easily, hands down, their favorite read aloud we did. I've read it to them at least twice, maybe 3 times. And whenever I pull it out, they get super excited. And it's nuts to me because the suspense in this book, it's mild. It's very, very mild, right? It's appropriate, but it's just as suspenseful like the second time around as it was the first time around. It's really funny. So we just finished reading this again, and it's called The Bears on Hemlock Mountain. It is a very short and sweet book. It's got like 10 chapters, I think, but the chapters are short. It's got artwork throughout, so your kids sitting next to you have something to look at. My kids really, really liked the pictures, really liked, the visuals. It's an easy one to read. It's enjoyable. I don't feel like it's too dumbed down for me to enjoy it as well. But hand down, this for both of them, for my 4 and 5-year-old, was like their all-time favorite book. It's about a little boy who has to go over the mountain to fetch something for his mother, and it's really a hill. And everybody says there are no bears on this mountain, and he's not really sure. And so the story, he comes back after dark because he fell asleep when he shouldn't have. And, the suspense of, are there bears on the mountain? So, yeah, this would be like my number one. If you have not seen this, it would be great for little boys or little girls. You just have to read it real fun, get some suspense into your voice, and then they get like, oh, well, what's going to happen? Keep going, love, keep going. And so that was a really fun one. Another one that my kids really enjoyed, and this is one my husband read with them actually, was this Little Pilgrim's Progress. Now, this is an absolutely beautiful book. So it is illustrated throughout, and look at the quality of these illustrations. Oh my goodness. I love it. It is the full Pilgrim's Progress book story. And it's done with animal illustrations, which I actually thought was kind of nice. Because while there's some pretty solid and hard topics and suspenseful or scary topics in here, but because it's done with animals, I feel like that made it a little bit less intense for my kids. Now, you have to judge the level of your child and these topics, and I would definitely read it with them, and you can gauge if you need to skip a spot or have a conversation. But this was a really good read. My kids loved it. My husband really enjoyed reading it with them, and he really enjoyed the conversations that came out of this. They had some really, really good conversations reading this book together. So if you have not seen this one, this version in particular, I really, really love. Another one, which I'll be honest, my husband has done as many read alouds as I have with my kids. But this was another one that he read the first 2 books of this series with them, and that would be Heartwood Hotel. He did The True Home and The Greatest Gift, and then he wanted to move on to something else for a time. My kids really love these. So then my older daughter, who is now reading fluently, has read the second 2 by herself. So, but these were a great little read aloud. They're sweet. They're about animals living in this giant tree in the middle of the forest that is the hotel, and little animals that work there and their stories and what happens. But they're really cute, simple. I think you could get these. I've seen these are at our library. I assume they're pretty common, so you could probably get them there. I would say they might tend a hair towards girls more than boys. The first 2 books, The Little Pilgrim's Progress and Bears on Hemlock Mountain, I think would be equally boys as girls. These might be a little more girl heady, but I think a boy would enjoy them as well, but I would say probably leaning that way. Okay, another series that I read with my daughters this year, and that is definitely a girls series, but I really, really enjoyed, and were really quick and easy to read through. So if you are an Anne of Green Gables lover, book or movie, then these are definitely for you. I do not own them. I got them from my library, so I will pop a picture up so you can see them. But they were these little simplified Anne of Green Gables series for kids. There are 6 of them, and they had illustrations on every page. The illustrations were so sweet and home-like And I loved the illustration in these guys. They were I just loved them. And, they really pared the story down super simple. The chapters were very few words, like, words to pages were more minimal, and we could read through, like, a whole book in a sitting. It was light on words, but it was a really cute way of introducing your kids to the story, and like I said, it was just and they were great. I loved them. So I would recommend checking those out if you have little girls or if you are a fan of the Anna Green Gables series. These are a definite must for you guys. Okay, another one which my husband read with them and my kids really enjoyed. I'm sure it was a little bit over their heads, but they had a great time reading it, and they were always asking him to read, what do they call it? Um, the Mr. and Mrs. Pongo book, was The 101 Dalmatians. And I didn't know this was actually a book until I found it at a thrift store. But the movie came from the book, not the book from the movie. And so that was always fun. I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll like this. So he read this with them, and they had so much fun reading it together. It lasted them quite some time because, I mean, it's a full book. There are a few illustrations in here, not a ton, but my kids, when you have a kid sitting next to you, they always enjoy seeing the little illustrations in here. And this again would be equally boy as girl, but this was a fun read. It's got some humor. I enjoyed reading this as an adult. It was fun to listen to as an adult, and my kids had fun reading it. So I would say that was a hit on both fronts. Okay, another one which is a classic, and I don't know why anybody wouldn't want to read these to their kids, but Winnie the Pooh. And the books are not the show. So if you never read the books are wonderful. They are so witty and humorous as an adult to read because it's written from such a childlike perspective. And you read it and you laugh because you're like, yeah, that's a kid. But it's also written in an intelligent manner. And so I don't know, these are like, I still enjoy reading these or hearing these read aloud to my kids because there's so much to them, but they're so simple, and kids love them because they're all about the animals, in the 100-Acre Wood. So if you have not read these with your kids, pick them up and try them out. And again, these are equally favored to boys as girls. I would not say these are leaning one way or the other. These are such a sweet, wholesome, healthy, hilarious, if you're an adult, read. Okay, and then the last of our absolute favorite reads this year is another allegory by John Bunyan. And if you're interested in seeing more in this, I have actually done a full flip-through review video on this particular book, but the Mansell Chronicles Book 1, The Rise and Fall of Mansell. Now, this is by Lithos Kids. They're coming out with a series, so this is just book 1. They don't have the next book out, but it's a lesser-known allegory of John Bunyan about a man's soul and, his creator making him and giving some rules and guidelines and then them rejecting those and allowing Diabolus in. And the illustrations, again, are beautiful. And there's not too much words. Like, you can see the amount of words per page. So the kids really, really loved looking at these illustrations. Again, it does touch some heavy themes or some, not heavy themes, but I mean, like, they're strong themes. And so if your kids are really sensitive, you might wait till they're a little bit older, or just really good conversations. Again, these books my husband loves because they bring some really, really good conversations with the kids. So we really enjoyed that. If you want to see a little bit more in here, a little bit more about this, I did do a video specifically on this, so you could check that out. But yeah, this is a good one. Okay, and then I have kind of 3 honorable mentions, which are books that we enjoyed but weren't quite to the enjoyment of this level of book. And those 3 that we did enjoy and I would read again or will read like books in these series again because they were not bad, but just depending on your kid, they may be more hits or misses. And Hibiscus. There's a whole series of these. I do plan to continue reading them with my kids, or at least let my daughter read them if we don't read them out loud. They were cute, sweet. It's about a little girl who lives in Africa with all her aunts and uncles and cousins and her life. So it does give you a little glimpse into another culture, which is fun. And they're well written, and they have lots of fun pictures throughout. Again, the books with pictures my kids really enjoy because then they can watch as well as listen to the story. So this was a good one. Another one is The Courage of Sarah Noble, short and sweet, about a girl in 1707 who's going with her father out to build a cabin in the frontier, and she is to go and help cook for him, and then he has to go back and get her mother and sisters, and she lives with a Native American family for a time while he goes and gets them. And so it's short and sweet. This is actually by the same author who did the same author who did The Bears on Hamilton Mountain. These are written by the same people. They're very different in style. But again, another good, and especially if you're looking for something a little bit more accurate or historical fiction-y, this would be a good one for that. And it's The Courage of Sarah Noble. The theme is her talking to herself, talking about how she's going to keep up her courage and be faithful at what she's undertaken. So it's got a really good moral for kids too. And then last honorable mention is My Father's Dragon. And we enjoyed this one. Again, I wouldn't say to the level of some of the other ones, but it was fun. My kids enjoyed it. Nothing bad to say about it. And we do plan to reread this year along with the 2 following books. There's 2 more in the series. So like I said, we enjoyed it enough that I want to read the other books with them. So I would say this is a fun one, especially for a little boy. I think this would be, I think it's fun for either, but I think a little boy would enjoy this. It's a little bit more adventuresome, I guess. Maybe. It's not, it's witty and funny. So that is my stack of books for young child read-alouds. All of those I feel like were well done. Most of them have some form of illustration in them for your children to look at. They're all long enough and well written enough and intelligent enough for you as an adult to not feel like you're bored or your brains are melting out your ears. But they are also fun enough and engaging enough for your children to enjoy. So hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully that gives you some ideas. If you have some favorite read-alouds for those ages, for the 4 to 6 range, please comment them below because we're still in that stage. I would love to have more favorites for my kids. So if you have something that you love, please let me know. I'd love to check it out. Otherwise, keep your eyes open because I will shortly be doing my final updates for the year, sharing our whole year overview and just how it went with each of my children and with all the curriculum at large. So keep your eyes open for that if that's of interest to you.